weather outside isn't super conducive to filming, but I just got my hair cut and I'm not gonna waste professionally styled hair on not filming a video. No thoughts. Very, very empty brains. Hi, my name is Adriana and today I will be doing my all vibes, no growth wrap up for the month of August. For those who don't know, August was my birthday month. I turned 27 at the end of August. And because 27 is such a weird year as far as no real big milestones, you don't really feel any closer to 30 than you did at 26. I just decided that it was kind of a wash year, so to make it feel fun, I decided that for the month I wasn't going to do any growth-focused reading. I focused on all just fun vibes. I didn't read any nonfiction, I didn't read any challenging fiction. I just had a lot of fun. So I am very excited to talk about these books that I read that were super fun. So I will be going in chronological order, starting with the first book I read in August, which was Reliquary. Reliquary is the sequel to Relic, which was the start of the Pendergast series, or the Pendergast universe, as I have dubbed it in many of my videos. I actually did a review of this on a mountaintop with my sister, so if you're interested in checking out some more of our in-depth thoughts, you can watch it linked above and below. I had so much fun with this book. It's definitely a semi-brainless mystery thriller science. I call it dad lit because it's all books and genres that my dad's really into and that like my dad introduced me to. So I don't know, it's what really got me into reading when I was in high school, is these kind of adventure thriller novels with very one-dimensional characters, very much just hanging out, shooting up bad guys, very fun. They're like blockbuster movies but in a book. I learned after I did the review of the first and second book with my sister that there actually is a movie based on the first book, so I'll probably have to check that out. But yes, very fun, very cool. It picks up right after the first one in New York City. There is a series of copycat murders from the murderers in the first book, and they're trying to figure out why there's all these copycats and what is going on, and is there another monster, because the murderer in the first book was this horrific monster from the Amazon, and it's super fun and very much a roller coaster ride of a book, and I enjoyed it immensely. I think I gave this one a 5 out of 5. While I was physically reading Reliquary, I was listening to The Bride Test by Helen Huang, the semi-sequel to The Kiss Quotient. Not a super sequel, but in the same universe. This was the story of a woman goes over to Vietnam to find a bride for her son who is on the spectrum, and she finds this young woman whose name I'm blanking on right now. Esme is her American name that she decides on. It's her job to kind of seduce / make the son fall in love with her over the course of a summer. And again, it's just a very fun, fluffy romance book, which fit right in with my whole goal of just vibes and no thoughts, which is definitely applicable to the characters in this book. No thoughts, just vibes. They get mad at each other for not communicating, and they're both instantly, madly in love with each other, which, again, no thoughts. Very, very empty brains. The next audiobook I listened to was Be Treed by Emily Henry. And this is another kind of contemporary romance, not as romance heavy as a lot of other books, but definitely a romance plot in general. This one takes place in a small town in Michigan, I believe. I think it's in Michigan. And this struggling author moves into her deceased father's beach house there and has to deal with the death of her father, as well as the knowledge that her father had this kind of long-term affair, this long-term extramarital affair, in this house that she's currently living in, and so she's dealing with all of that. And the neighbor next to her, who lives next door to her, is this kind of pompous writer guy that she went to college with, and so obviously you can see where it's going from here. But it was very cute, really fun, and you know, I love kind of like a small town romance. There's just something so like heartwarming about it, and it just makes you feel so good, and all these like small town characters around you with all of these zany interests and businesses and craziness going on. The next 3 books I read were actually the last 3 books in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I do have a bit of a reading vlog on reading the last one if you want to check that out, but these last 3 books is what rounded out my Squash That Series challenge attempt that is Bailey Reading and Kayla Ray Reads put together. But I mean, I say this like every time I mention rereading one of these giant childhood series, but there's not much more that can be said. There's still so much fun to read, and I had a great time. So the 3rd one is definitely a big ramp up to the series. We see, you know, the main baddie, and Percy has his first interaction with like the main baddie in full form. So that's like a really cool kind of thing to see. We see the first kind of inkling of romance between Percy and Annabeth. In the 4th book, which is my personal favorite, they delve into the Labyrinth, which has come to expand the entire globe beneath the surface. So you get to see them in so many different locations, and the world building of this world within our own world is so incredible and fun to see, and see them interacting with so many different types of characters. It really allowed the author to introduce so much more of kind of obscure mythology into the series. And then of course the last one, which I think is just the perfect ending to this series. It's a lot more insular, I suppose. In the 4th book, we spend so much time going to all these different places in the world, and the 5th book takes place mostly in Manhattan and mostly within the same like 4-block radius within Manhattan. So it's a lot more insular. We're a lot more in these characters' heads. I think I even made a note when I first started reading the 5th book that it starts off with a lot more of Percy's voice, and his voice throughout the book I think is a lot stronger than we've seen in a lot of the other books. So it just really gets you into these characters and into their development as they're growing into young adults, and I just love this series so much. Honestly, I thought about just like blowing up the rest of the reading I had planned and going straight into the Lost Years of Olympus, because I think Rick Riordan just did such a great job of creating this world that you really want to delve into and live in, and it feels so cool, and I just gush about it. I gush just because I'm a huge Greek mythology nerd, and I fell in love with these books as a kid. The last book I read for the month of August was the audiobook of The People We Meet on Vacation, the most recent Emily Henry novel, I believe. So this one actually felt very, very similar to Beach Read. So I think if you enjoyed Beach Read, you're definitely going to enjoy this one. It's got a lot of the same character types, and I don't know, it just felt very similar, even though the basis of these 2 books is very different. So The People We Meet on Vacation is focused on these focuses on these college friends that end up taking a big summer trip together every year. And so we kind of bounce around the timeline as far as where they're at currently in their relationship, which is not a great place when the book starts, and where their relationship had been and kind of what got them to this point of not being on super great terms, and this kind of one last trip to try to save their friendship, versus Beach Read, which takes place in this small Michigan town. So it's 2 very different books on the surface, but like when you delve in, they feel very, very similar. And again, the 2 characters, no thoughts, very empty heads. All of their problems could have been solved with like a 15-minute good, solid, honest talk together. But you know what? That's not what we're here for in the contemporary romance genre. We're here for 2 super hot people with very little thinking capacity doing weird things, and us yelling at them so we feel better about our own selves. That is all my reading for the month of August, a tight 7 books. I don't think I'd rate any of them lower than a 4. Like, I had a really, really great reading month, which is exactly what I was hoping for my birthday month. As my birthday gift to you, I'll give you a little bit of trip to end this video. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.